Good evening, everyone. My name is Shedrack, and I'm really happy to be here. So I'll be teaching you on step by step on how to build a website, and I'll see to it not to skip any step, so as to give you detailed explanation of the do, the know, and how to get your website running at the best. The course is stationed to teach you every step from simple to difficult, taking you from zero to hero in web development. So I'll be explaining to you the intro of web development, what is web development. I'll be taking you explaining hosting and domain, the likes, SSL, WordPress, and the others. So I would really like you to stay tuned because the course is promising. It's promising to be very detailed, full of practicals, and as well success. God bless you in Jesus' name. Now we will be starting with the first question we have here. Intro to web dev. Intro to web dev. Before we start building website, we need to understand what we are doing here. Some people just wake up one morning and say, "Oh, I want to build a website," and they begin to move around. That's very good, but there is always a better space, or it's always better for you to understand what you want to do before you start to do them. Now we'll be starting with what is web development, how does it work, and how does it function. Now web development, I got a definition online and I'm going to paste on the screen. So we'll work with that definition. Now it says web development. Let me zoom in. So web development is the work involved in developing a website for internet or an intranet. Now let me break that down. Internet is a cyberspace connecting billions of computers. Like my computer now is connected to the internet. Somebody's computer in US is connected to the internet. So this is how we communicate to ourselves. So I can speak to somebody in US. The reason is because there is a connection joining us together, and that is internet. So it is global. But intranet is not a global kind of connection. It's similar to an internet because it has to do with connection with different computers, but it is limited to a particular nation. Like the case of North Korea uses intranet, not internet. So they only communicate within themselves. Are you getting that? So web development is the work involved in developing a website for the internet. So your website could be to reach out for the whole world, or your website could be to reach out for just the people in your country. Are you getting that? Or your local environment. Now let's forge ahead. Now web development can range from developing a simple static page or plain text to complex web applications, electronic businesses, social network service. Now what it's trying to say here is that website isn't great. Web development rather isn't great. You can decide to build from the very little or very small kind of website, which is static websites, to complex kind of website, which could be online web applications, e-commerce websites, which is electronic businesses, social network like Facebook. Before Facebook became an app, I believe it was a website. So those are complex kind of websites. So web development is building a website that serves for the internet or intranet, and it could be just building a static website, just perhaps maybe a one-page static website, or a blog, or an e-commerce website, or a dropship website, and many others. Social media websites you can mention. I also want to say that whenever we are considering web development or a website, we need to understand the fact that the website is mainly comprises of the front end and the back end. Now the front end is made up of some they are not programming language. They are not programming language precisely, but one of which is a programming language, which is JavaScript. But it starts from HTML. HTML means hypertext markup language, and it is made up of what? Tags. HTML is made up of tags. Can you see? This is how HTML is written. This is the skeleton of the website. This is the bony framework of the website. This is what gives the website a structure. So the HTML is the beginning of your front-end development. When you are building a website with code, you write HTML code first. And that is the framework, the beginning of the framework of your website. And not just that, there's also another coding, another aspect of coding that we need to consider, and that is the CSS, which is also known as cascading style sheet. Now, what the CSS does is that the CSS helps to close the HTML. Like I said earlier on, that the HTML is like skeleton. Are you getting that? The skeleton of the website? Good. Now, you know, when we have skeleton, just like normal skeleton of the human human being, you notice that that skeleton is covered with flesh, right? It's covered with flesh, and that is what CSS does. It is CSS that makes this white color, white background visible. When you're writing HTML code, what you just see is a normal framework. So the HTML is the skeleton, but the CSS is what clothes it. That is what gives the color of the website, the beauty of the website, and to some extent, the appearance. It gives majorly the appearance of the website. So, and that is what CSS does. So the next one is a programming language, and that one is called JavaScript. That's called JavaScript. What JavaScript does is that it's like the life of your front end. It's like the life of your front end. You know, when we have skeleton filled with flesh and it's not moving, that being is still dead. So same thing with the website. You can have the HTML and the CSS working fine, but your website is still as good as dead because the buttons will not function. They will just be like designs. You get it, as if you just drew on the screen of your PC, your desktop, or whatever you are using to design that website. But when you add JavaScript to it, what you just did that you brought that website to life. So that's like the breadth of the website, the breadth of the front end. So your website becomes active, and these are code representing JavaScript. So this is how these codes are written. So the front end is mainly made up of these three coding system. Let me use that word, coding system. HTML is not a programming language, so that's what we call a programming language. We have CSS, then JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language, also known as the language of the web. JavaScript is also known as what? The language of the web. Okay, now the HTML code is opened already. So this is just a mini form. A mini registration form, not too good to look. So I wrote this very little code. They are all HTML codes, and you see that this code has this slash, this tag, we call it tags. So it is made up of tags. They are all made up of what? HTML is all made up of what? Tags. But now, if you're going to see it on a web browser, this is what we're going to see. Let me minimize it and run it also on Chrome. It's not really a beautiful one. So this is what all those code you just saw, this is what it generated to be. So I can fill all these things. You see, it's already suggesting stuff to me. So that is how a normal form in the website, in the web browser works. But this one was written with HTML. So once I submit, it's going to give me some kind of error. I just typed anyhow thing there. So that is what HTML does. But you see, it's not really a good looking form compared to what we have in. The reason is because there is no CSS attached to this particular form. So that's for the front end. Now, the back end of the website, I'm not really going to go deep into the back end because I know to some extent some of you might begin to feel intimidated. Please don't feel intimidated because we are not going to be writing all these codes. But I'll be developing website that has all these codes. That sounds weird, right? That I'm not going to write code, but I'm going to be developing a website that has code. Now let me show you something quickly. This website fully functioning. It's fully functioning. Was written without code. Can you see this? It was written with zero HTML code, zero CSS code, zero JavaScript code. The only place I needed to add code was this animation, and it was just a copy and paste code, and that is all. But now I'm going to show you something. Let's inspect this page. Then you will see what I'm saying, that we won't be writing any code in this section, but we'll be getting what the code can do. Can you see codes? This website, what is making this website functioning now is these codes. These are HTML codes. Div, this tag, whenever you see tags like that, those are HTML codes, and you see div sections and all those kind of things. These are HTML code. If you look deeper again, you begin to see some level of scripts. Can you see scripts? These are JavaScript. Can you see JavaScript? If you also look deeper again, if you try to search deeply, you begin to see some CSS code. But I don't want to spend time doing it because I want to make this intro as short as possible. So we'll be making website this classic and this wonderful with zero code. So I just want to give you introduction of what web development stands for and how it functions, how it works. All this with zero code. So please, I'm not saying this to intimidate. I'm just bringing you into the environment so you can understand. Are you getting that? So these are the things that makes up the front end of your website. Now the back end of your website is made up of put simply the front end. Okay, that's for the front end. Now, definition of back end in website. The back end of the website is everything that goes on behind the scene. Now, you can see this page, this Google page now. What we are seeing now is the front end. But beyond this front end is the back end, and that is where the main job is being done. The front end is made visible and this active because the back end is sound. So now, behind the scene, from servers to database and much more. In a nutshell, a website backend is everything the user doesn't see. Can you get that? The backend is what the user doesn't see. So in this course, I'll be teaching you how to manage your front end, your backend, and your cPanel. And with this, I believe to some extent you know what we're doing, but I'm promising you will not be writing any HTML code, any CSS code, and any JavaScript code. And despite you not writing any of this code, you'll be getting exact result with somebody who is writing this code. And the reason is because you'll be using a machine to develop our website. The best machine in the world is a CMS, a content management system called WordPress. And it's the best. When you continue the course, you see the analysis that was done on WordPress and why WordPress is a very good option to web development. The secret of web development and the future of web development lies on drag and drop. Ask the whites, because I learned from the whites, I learned from Americans, and I learned from Indians. Sincerely, and majority of the websites that are built out there are built with WordPress. Thank you for following me to this time. I'm happy to have you. God bless you in Jesus' name.